Welcome to Hot Dog Marketing's blogcast, Zig When They Zag. Today we're going to be talking about 5 reasons marketing takes time. You ready to talk about that, Kevin?
Are you ready to talk about this, Jessica?
I can't wait. Let's do it.
Great. Oh, why'd you have to make it awkward?
Well, it wasn't my intention. This is kind of an awkward topic, though, because I feel like we always have to make sure that we temper expectations when we talk to clients. And I would say it's come up more often than not this year because everybody's trying to get into marketing as quickly as possible. And they need the results as quickly as possible because they're trying to rebound from 2020. Is that kind of what you've been finding when you talk to our clients?
Yes, and I also think it is generally something that people easily get frustrated by, and it's like we'll get into this, but it I say this all the time: marketing is not a switch that you flip. It is a flywheel. It is an engine, and people don't understand so many aspects of what it takes to actually build it out for the first time. And I think the other part of it too is just in terms of, well, I mean, there's so much to talk about, so I won't even go into spoilers. Let's just talk about how we want to talk about this. So speaking of which, how do you want to answer that question? Why does marketing take so long?
Yeah, I think so. We've come up with 5 kind of categories of things that we can discuss around this, but I think the first one on the list is the one that we have to tell clients in the nicest way possible, which is no one knows who you are. And I think of it as a brand equity issue, right? People think I'm going to start digital marketing. Everybody's going to learn who I am and they're going to buy from me immediately.
Yeah.
That's just not how it works. We know that customers have a attention span of about 6 seconds. You've got to capture that attention at least 7 times before they even can remember your name.
Yeah.
And then you have to educate them to what you're good at. And then at some point, they're going to need your service, and then they'll be considering who to hire, and they'll hopefully pick the one that they've heard of and kind of understand something about. And that's not something that happens in the first 2 months of launching a campaign.
Yeah. I can't remember what the rating is on this particular show that we produce. So I'll say it. This is what I say to prospects all the time, is that no one gives a flip about you. And by that, I mean, as you know, no one's sitting around thinking, oh, I just really wish there was a great welder that, was the answer to all of my dreams. I think in business, we want it to be romanticized like we want dating. Like there's that perfect someone out there for us.
Right.
And yet they really want thousands of that perfect someone just waiting. It's not the better mousetrap. If you build it, they don't come. They are legitimately living busy lives in their jobs, dealing with the highs and lows of the day to day, constantly being distracted. You're just not top of mind.
Yeah.
And so I think your point is great. And I love that there's metrics around it too. It's not like, hey, you'll introduce yourself to them and now they know who you are and now they're thinking about you. Like it takes 7 times on average for someone to even remember who you are. I remember early on, I got called by a market research firm that was doing a brand study on a major automotive brand. And they started asking me these questions. They go, have you seen a commercial where the name of the company flips down like it's an odometer? It starts out with numbers and then it flips down to the name of the customer. I was like, yes, I totally remember this. This is 20 years ago, back when commercials were prevalent.
Yeah.
I was like, I totally remember that. I can picture it in my mind. They're like, great, who's that for? And I go,
oh, yeah.
I have no idea. Like my brain pictured the ad itself. And I think I said Ford. And for those of you who remember, it clearly is Chevrolet. I learned afterwards. And I was like, man, I felt like an idiot. But then I was like, no, that's exactly the point. I remember that very specific interaction, yet couldn't for the life of me place who it was. And so,
Yeah,
you
because
know,
you weren't shopping for a car when you saw the
no,
ad. But the
yeah,
moment you're shopping for a car, all of those ads become relevant and you start to remember and distinguish between them. But if you're
yeah,
not shopping for a car, they're all the same commercial, basically.
yeah.
Yeah. I don't even remember who does Truck Month, but it's always Truck Month. And I've stopped associating it with a brand. Is it Truck Month again?
It's
It doesn't
Texas.
even matter.
Everyone. Truck
That's a yeah, in Texas, that's for sure. I like the dating analogy because I think people it would be the same as I'm going to build an online profile on a dating I'm going to build an online profile on a dating app and then I'm going to get married in 2 months.
yeah,
It's just nothing works that
yeah.
quickly. It is a process.
Well, and what's great as a marketing agency is then the questions we get are like, how come I'm not married yet? How many weddings have I had?
That's right. I've had my profile up for this long and I've only, yeah, people haven't even called me yet.
Right.
Yeah.
It's not how it works. That's
Yeah.
not how it works. Yeah,
Yeah,
that's
that's right.
but on the flip side, it is how it works because you're absolutely right because when they need you,
Mm-hmm.
they will recall the brands that they have been exposed to
Mm-hmm.
that have engaged them and resonated
Mm-hmm.
to who they are and what they care about so that then when they're ready
Mm-hmm.
they start to see you everywhere and that's kind of the other side of that coin is um, it takes persistence to get your brand in front of them
Mm-hmm.
in that to get to a point where you've earned their awareness
Mm-hmm.
but it doesn't do the job of educating them, converting them, none of that. And so that kind of brings us to our second reason kind of
Yeah.
bucket as to why marketing takes time. Do you want to talk
Yeah.
about that one?
Yeah, I can start. Yeah, the purchasing journey. And your customers make decisions to buy different things and different services on different timelines. And so I think about this a lot with realtors. Because if I think of a group of people that we've worked with that are very anxious to get leads, realtors fall in that category. And we have to tell them, well, it takes a long time before someone makes a decision to buy a house, and an even longer decision to kind of figure out who they want to work with to do that. That particular purchasing journey, 5 years, 7 years, you know, it takes some time. So
Yeah.
if somebody's never heard of your brand, you have to take that into consideration. How long is it going to take for your marketing to work?
Yeah. No, it's really interesting. Going back to buying cars, my wife has started a conversation about, hey, our kids are ginormous now. We need another ginormous car to fit our family in.
Hmm.
And she started doing research and started, kind of figuring out what she'd want to get and just trying to think about our year. And we have some other family coming. So it'd be nice if we had a bigger car to commute them around in.
Hmm.
And she's in the research phase of her customer journey.
Hmm.
I'm not. She brought it up to me, and that started my awareness phase. And what's really interesting, and we,
Uh,
love to have a very detailed conversation with anyone listening to this about what your customer journey is. We kind of break it down high level to awareness, research, consideration, decision, and delight. That's kind of the customer journey as it comes to engaging with the idea of becoming and being a customer for you.
mhm.
In the awareness stage, it's the awareness not of you, not of the brand, it's the awareness of their need. What is
Mhm.
triggering the start of the process, and how are they becoming aware of just shaping and scoping out their own problem solving? And this one's
Mhm.
um, really important for services because services are not impulse buys. They're not
Hmm.
driven by intrinsic motivators of, how you look and things like that. It's completely different than a product. Every service does a job for someone, and their willingness to buy that job is dependent on so many different events and factors and circumstances. And so, this is such an important idea. And so, she's research getting into consideration. I think we should get this car. We should go look at them. I'm like a husband, so I have to quickly go through awareness to catch up to my wife, who I
Yeah.
love and is a good leader in our family. So this is not a complaint at all, but it was just sort of oh, I had no idea we were looking at buying a car this quickly. So
Hmm.
I go through that process, and now we're in the research phase where I said, hey, let me do my research.
Hmm.
I appreciate your input. She's a brand advocate. She's like, hey, we should look at these things, these cars, and I'm doing my research. And I will tell you, we will either buy a car next month or we will buy a car at the end of the year. I can't even tell you if we're going to get past consideration. We're going to step
Hmm.
our toe into consideration where we'll go and we'll sit in cars and test drive them.
Hmm.
But there's so many things that could throw us off of this process. And I will
Hmm.
tell you what would really suck for me as a consumer. Sorry, I forgot we're toning it down in terms of language. What would really stink for me is if a car salesman called me right now.
Oh, you're not ready.
I
Yeah.
am not ready whatsoever.
Yeah.
And so to me, it really understanding how marketing, which ultimately is about influence and transformation, like how do we move people, shape their thinking, shape their understanding, position and portray you, answer their questions, without doing the
Hmm.
confrontational sales in a way that builds and earns their trust and their interest.
Yeah.
It has to be aligned to where they're at.
Yeah.
Uh, because honestly, like if I started seeing ads for a car brand that I'm already uh, discounting
Hmm.
for my own personal considerations, and we've talked about doing customer research and knowing your customer and knowing the buying criteria, like it would just further solidify how much I don't want that car.
Yeah.
Don't want, or more importantly, how much I don't want to buy that car from that dealer. Because
That's
that's
right.
where the service piece is. It's like you have lost me as a customer
Hmm.
because it is not helpful for me. You've
Hmm.
made my job harder. Uh,
Hmm.
and that's selfish. I recognize that, but that's the reality of the world that we're in. And especially in this decade
Yeah.
where digital marketing is so pervasive, people are so digital, you
Hmm.
have to understand how little time and attention people afford to give to things that aren't aligned to what they're focused on. So that's a
Yeah.
really one that's I think anyone could be like, yeah, I've had that experience. I
For
hated
sure.
that.
Hmm. Yeah.
Misim-
The bigger the dollar amount of the thing that you're selling. So think especially in B2B, which we work with a lot of B2B service,
yeah,
that is a long and complicated decision process for your buyer, right? It's not just, I'm going to leap into a relationship with a vendor to do all these things for us. But there's other people on the other side helping make those decisions. So your marketing is has to have a long-term plan that addresses education and differentiation at all these different stages with all these different people, and it might take a year, 2 years, 3 years before people buy. And so you can't look at your marketing and be like, why isn't it working already? It
yeah,
is. It's influencing people at the earliest stages, usually when you get started.
yeah,
And I think on alternatively, like a nail salon, somebody that is selling a service that you can usually book the same day and the purchase and decision is low risk, those things happen very quickly. And so you have to make sure that you are marketing online and everything is ready to go and can transform and influence a buyer like within minutes or half
Yeah.
an hour, right? So that's different. So everybody's got a different purchasing journey, and you have to take that into consideration when you think about when am I supposed to see results from this
Yeah.
in terms of sales. So,
So I I think kind of getting to our third point, which
mhm,
comes out of that one is if you understand that there's a purchasing journey, that it's not just the transaction. If you
mhm,
build it, they will come. It's not, hey, everybody's ready to buy all the time. Then you understand that in order to reach your potential buyers, present and future, you have to meet them where they're at.
mhm,
And this is one of the things that we really emphasize when we're educating our clients and helping them to grow to understand what marketing at the next level of their business looks like is you can't just do one thing.
mhm.
You want to build on that a little bit?
Yeah, for sure. So earlier I was thinking you're just more likely to do business with someone you've heard of. And you're likely to have heard of a company through several different ways. And I think the best possible situation for your buyer, no matter what kind of company you are, is that you've heard about a brand from a friend or someone that you've got a trusting relationship with. You've seen them online, and you've maybe seen them in one other instance, like within your industry or something like that. So when you talk about a flywheel, that's really it. Like there's all these different points of a cycle where you're growing your brand, and you can put pressure on all these different points to make it spin. And what you can't do is just focus on one channel to do that, right?
Yeah.
You, there's a couple of risks with that too. And this happened early on with Facebook. A lot of service businesses, once they kind of discovered Facebook and they didn't have to pay to reach customers organically, became extremely dependent on Facebook just to get their word out. And the moment Facebook changed their model, and moved everybody to paid, and
Yep.
they lost all of that traction. I mean, some of these customers didn't even have websites. They were like, I don't need a website, I have Facebook.
Yeah.
So there's some risk. But the other thing is, you're not influencing all the different people at the different stages with different channels to move them through. And then you're probably, my guess would be, not doing much after they become a customer to turn them into people who refer business to you, which is
Right.
really the full cycle.
Yeah. No, absolutely. Like I have such an interesting view of Facebook just because I talked to so many businesses.
Yeah.
And because I talk to so many businesses and Mark Zuckerberg is always listening, I get advertisements for everything. And my favorite game is to be like, why? What conversation led to this?
Yeah.
So actually that would be a fun episode where I show you the ads and you try and guess what it is. Everything from underwear to cantilever furniture racking systems.
Yeah.
I'll just leave it at that.
Yeah.
But only once in all of that,
Mhm.
as a buyer, have I ever actually like just clicked through and went
Mhm.
and explored it. Now, what's really interesting is this company does it well. Is I clicked their ad, I went to their website, I dug around, did some information. I was not on a customer journey for this product at all, but the awareness led me kind of again toe step into a little bit of research to understand what it
Mhm.
was like, and then I put that on hold.
Mhm.
Um, but what's really interesting is I have no idea how to ever find them again.
Oh, yeah.
Right? I don't
It
know the brand. I
Mhm.
don't like it. It was so focused on one specific channel, which I
Yeah.
think this was an Instagram ad
Yeah.
that I,
Can't find it again.
yeah, and they definitely moved me towards becoming a marketing lead. and have the potential to move me to being a qualified lead. Like it's something that really I'm excited about. No idea.
Yeah.
No idea where to find it, right?
Yeah. I
And so
think that,
not only is that the risk, but if you only focus on one thing, it's again, you're only hitting them at one point in their customer journey. And so you rely on them being at the stage where they're ready to decide or being able to go through research consideration decision fast enough that you can hold their attention, right? The thing about even if I was ready to buy, I clicked that ad, it opened up through Instagram, the browser. If anything held me off for like an hour and anything happened where that window shut, lost. I didn't give them any
yeah.
information. Like it's so risky in terms of lost opportunity.
Yeah, and they're sitting around wondering, why isn't my marketing working yet,
Yeah.
right? We've got
Yeah.
clicks, but where are the buys? It's because they're only looking at one piece of it.
Yeah. And something I think a lot of service companies need to understand is there's a difference between product marketing, which is the potential user base for your product is some subset of 7.5 billion people, right? For services, it's not that. It is 100, maybe 1,000 potential customers. And so if you are using one channel to try and hit all 1,000 people and assuming they're all in the same place, it's not going to be effective. Not going to get the leads and the conversions that are going to make any impact on your business.
Yeah, we have a new client who had signed up, 6-7 years ago with an SEO company. And he was one of the first in the area to sign up with it. And it worked really well for a while. And he did nothing else to market his business. And now he feels a little bit behind. And I said it's very similar to people who just advertised in the yellow pages. you know and if you were lucky enough, you're like, I did my marketing for the year, check it off. We're in the yellow pages. I mean, it's so much more complex. People have more information, they take longer to make decisions, and they make decisions by looking at several different sources, talking to different people, and so you've got to be able to be there at each step. So I love that. So the next one on the list is brand messaging and your visual identity are wrong. Another way to say that would be misaligned with your customers' expectations. So, and this I run into quite a bit with clients that have older websites, or maybe they've grown but never really taken a good strategic look at their first impression. You want to talk a little bit about that?
Yeah. Your website is ugly. Is one of the hardest things for us. Fortunately, a lot of people come to us and they're like, our website's ugly.
Yeah.
But again, if you think about it from the perspective of a potential buyer, there's so much that your marketing can do. And so when we talk about brand, we talk about the expectation that you set with the customer before you interact with them. And so what are they thinking about? What are they hoping to get? How do they feel about it, right? Like, are they excited about it? There's so many different ways that we can engage through branding. And similarly, there's so many ways that you can just create a bad experience. And it's kind of like when you're eating at a restaurant and the food comes out and there's something, right? A hair on the plate, a little bit of dirt on the knife. That's, to me, the exact experience of what misaligned branding creates.
Yeah.
Just that, like, I don't know what's going on behind the scenes, but I don't want to pay for that if this is what I think I'm going to get.
Yeah, I think about restaurants are a great example because I think we as consumers are trained to kind of understand that many restaurants are independently owned. Maybe we've lowered our standards on what we expect to see for like online marketing, their website, menu design, things like that. But it makes the restaurant have to work so much harder because they better have like 100 billion good reviews online for us to
Right.
trust that this restaurant's worth going to
Yeah.
if they have a bad website and no great photos and things like that. Because we're trying to figure out before we go to places whether or not we want to go to those places. And so it's a good example, and it happens with every single industry. And with service, like we keep going back to, it's a lot about trust. Do they really understand my problem? Are they experts at this particular problem that I'm facing? And they're
Yeah.
trying to glean that in that first 6 seconds that they visit a website. And they're going to be thrown off by the age of the website, its poor functionality, the bad messaging, the bad design. Um, and there's something about just upping all of your game in that area just enough to meet your customers' expectations,
Yeah.
where they can go, oh, they have their stuff together. They've been doing this for a while. They
Yeah.
must be good at it if they can afford a website that looks like this, even if it wasn't an expensive website, you know?
Yeah.
These are the thoughts that go through your mind. And I think the other thing too is I think research said that 90% of people who are looking at your website are there for research only.
Yeah.
So they're also looking at your competitors' websites. So if you've recently looked at your competitor's website and compared it to your own and said, eek, mine looks really bad compared to theirs, that's exactly what your customers are thinking too. And they're more likely to go back to the website that looked better, functioned better, had better messaging on it.
Yeah, there's so much that we could talk about with this. Two quick things that come to mind. One is don't overdo it with your branding. Like
Mm-hmm.
it's not making the sale, right? And so you think
Mm-hmm.
about how confusing it is. People shouldn't, no one wants to do the work to figure
Mm-hmm.
out why they should uh, pay you for whatever it is you want them to pay them for. The
Yeah.
other one too is um, aligning your branding to who your ideal customer is. And so
Mm-hmm.
I was thinking there's a local car dealer and his branding is great. And I'm totally not his type of customer. And it's great because I'm like, I really value what he's doing. I assume that it's an understanding of what segment of his market he's going for, which
Mm-hmm.
I'm not part of. And as a result, I know that he's doing well in terms of business. Like he's been around for years, but he knows what he does and he knows who he wants to work with. I think for
Yeah.
service companies, that's really important. And there's ways through branding to set expectations. So a conversation we have a lot at Hot Dog Marketing
Mm-hmm.
is this client looking for a service, a
Mm-hmm.
solution, or an outcome?
Mm-hmm.
And that's really important for us in terms of thinking about how we engage our clients, because clients who just want a service don't want or value aspects of the brand, like how fun we are and how
Mm-hmm.
enjoyable it is to work with us and how smart we are. They need to pay someone to do the work.
Mm-hmm.
It's just that level of aligning brand to customer segments, ideal customer profile buyer is
Mm-hmm.
really beneficial and really can uh, accelerate you faster. So it doesn't necessarily mean it won't take time, but it will slow you down if your branding is misaligned because you're just
Yeah.
reaching customers who aren't going to become customers.
And I think we have an opportunity to maybe do an episode just about design and how that speeds things up for buyers, but we'll
Yeah.
save that for next time. Kind of last one on the list is you're not optimizing your marketing as it runs. So I think of this one as continuous improvement. Um, you can't just kind of set it and forget it. And I think what a lot of clients do, especially if maybe they're just starting with a small budget, they'll just start with something and then they sit there and wait for it to return on
Right.
results instead of going back to it and trying to figure out what about this isn't quite working. What do I need to change? And then is this really the right channel? Am I spending? There's so many questions that come up when something's not working. And then once it is working, how do I make this better? what's the next step in the journey? Where's the map of where the customers are at with their brand recognition with
Right.
us? And how do we engage on the next step? And they're
Yeah.
not doing those things.
Yeah. I think that's so true and so good. I mean, we talk about the value that we aim to provide, which is one, great work.
Mm-hmm.
And I say that all the time because it's not me, it's our marketing and design and development experts
Mm-hmm.
that we have in our agency who are doing amazing work for our clients. But the other part is our clients have to grow. They're growing their business. And so that partnership and that transformation as we're going requires great relationship, because if we set it and forget it, then we just become a monthly bill. And
Mm-hmm.
I can guarantee you the quality and impact that our work is going to have, but I can't guarantee you that your business environment is going to change. And you can
Mm-hmm.
never out, or that style preferences are going to change. Like it just constantly needs to be managed, reviewed,
Mm-hmm.
optimized, or yeah, it's people view it as like building a fence. They make
Mm-hmm.
the investment and then suddenly they have a fence. Well, over time, that fence is going to slowly degrade. The reality, though, is marketing is not just an interface
Mm-hmm.
to the rest of the world to make your house look and
Mm-hmm.
pretty, is what
Mm-hmm.
Fence does. It's a system that is meant to reach people and bring them to the door. And
Mm-hmm.
the world is not stagnant. Your marketing shouldn't be stagnant too. And so I think that's uh, one, an area of misaligned expectation, but two, I think a lot of people don't come knowing that the investment is in both creating great marketing, going through
Mm-hmm.
that process of really digging in and understanding who I'm trying to reach, what their customer journey is, what my brand is, what the right interactions are, right? Like all of
Mm-hmm.
the work that we do to make sure that we are building the right engine for them. But
Mm-hmm.
then it's the ongoing maintenance and how do we add to it, right?
Mm-hmm.
Now that now that we're up and going, what else can we do? So um, that one's really, really great. Our
Yeah.
challenge for us is how do we invite clients into seeing and needing those opportunities. But
Mm-hmm.
if you just set it and forget it, it's not going to work. It's not going to continue. It's going to degrade. And that's the other thing. It's going to slowly lose its potential for what it's doing for your business.
That's right. Yeah. And I always think like these kind of set it, forget it marketing campaigns, there's a percentage that might work after some time. But if the topic is like, why is it taking so long? It's because you're not looking at it and figuring out how to speed it up too, right?
Yeah.
There are opportunities and you may be missing them if you're not working actively with a partner or if you don't look at it yourself and are trying to distinguish what's going on with the marketing,
Yeah,
right?
absolutely.
Yeah, so this was great. It's kind of an eye opener, I hope, for people. I hope they start thinking about marketing a little bit differently, um, and know that it's a long-term investment. I
Yeah.
also like to just kind of wrap it up by saying the longer you wait to start marketing, the longer it takes to start working.
Yeah.
So you should start with something now. Plant
Yeah.
the seed.
We have a lot of resources on our website that talk about how you can grow in your marketing, how you can not just do a one and done campaign, but how even design can be growth driven. So feel free to check out our resources page. Love to talk to anyone if you have any questions. But yeah, this is definitely something that I think great businesses who grow because they invest in marketing understand.
Yeah.
Had a conversation yesterday with a client during the pandemic. Things slowed down, and he said I wasn't going to cut marketing because I know that would be one of the worst things that I could do. And I was like, well, it's self-serving for me to say this, but I'm glad that you didn't do it. But I'm glad that wasn't because we had to talk you into it either. So.
Yeah, that's awesome. Well, that's good to hear. Well, thank you, Kevin.
Well, thank you, Jessica.
Yeah, let's get back together and do this again soon.
Real soon.
Real soon.
Minutes from now.
Okay, thanks.
Bye.
Bye.